Then when you put on top of that a trip, an overseas trip where you get 10 official practices, so you got to add that to your normal regimen of the summer. And then the big thing is the games. I mean, normally you don't play any games from March or April all the way till the first week of November, or maybe a scrimmage in the last week of October. So to get 3 under your belt in the summer really gives you, and that's where we saw our progress over there. The 10 practices here, the 3 games there, and in those 3 games, because we didn't go over there and practice a whole lot or do anything like that. It was a trip for different experiences, but those games, that really shows right now with the first couple days of practice.
Honestly, what was the level of competition like?
Varied game to game. Each game was a little bit different. I don't know if the competition, you would say, was at a high major level over there or even a mid-major level, but the style of play really created some things that we got to learn from and get better, and it exposed some challenges for us. So it wasn't necessarily with the talent level or the fact that those teams, I mean, they're groups of guys that are put together in a short period of time. But they're professionals and they're guys that play a different style of basketball that was really good for us to play against, and also on both sides of the ball, to guard it and also have to try and run our offense versus their style of defense. There's some unique differences that we've actually picked up a couple of things that will hopefully help us here too.
Take us through your new guys one-on-one and what they bring to the table for fans that maybe haven't had a chance to see them.
Yeah, great question. So far, James Daniel, experience, some real understanding of the game. He's played a lot. He's played in 4 years in college, so he brings that just a confidence and experience about himself as a guard, and obviously a really good scorer. Now that scoring has to translate here, but he knows how to put the ball in the basket. He's not afraid. He's a fearless scorer. So those are things that I think he can hopefully help us. Chris Darrington, a very tough, we like to call him a player. I mean, he really, I think Chris lives for the big moment. He likes having the ball in his hand. He's a tough kid. He likes playing defense. He's extremely coachable. So I think there's a grittiness about Chris Darrington that we're all excited about. Zach Kent is a very savvy player. He's skilled. He's got a long way to go physically as he continues to, like all freshmen. But the way he shoots the ball, his skill, and he really understands the game. He's a good passer. He understands he's not playing above the rim right now, so he's got a good feel for the game and how to get his shot off inside. So his understanding and skill set is something that I think in the future could be really strong for us. Yves Pons really buys into defense and rebounding and wants to be great in those areas and takes a lot of pride in those areas. And from a physical standpoint, as much as he has to go learning the game and skill level, continue to get to a better level, very athletic and strong player that wants to impose those qualities on the defensive end and rebounding and running out in transition. But again, like every freshman, just needs to understand the game better, needs to learn, and he's getting acclimated to not only a new game, but a new country. And who would the last?
Derek Walker.
And Derek Walker. Probably the furthest ahead of all the young guys. Really knows how to play physical. He's kind of a throwback player, which we love, that he wants to play the game physical, and he likes to use his body. He initiates contact on both ends of the floor, and very good passer. Very something that people probably wouldn't know about him. Really can pass the ball for a big guy.
From a front court standpoint, with some of those new guys and maybe the development of the guys that you've already had, how different of a interior team could you potentially be offensively or defensively this year?
Yeah, you know, if you look back at Coach Barnes' teams from the years at Providence, Clemson, Texas, he's always wanted to play in the trenches and get that ball in the paint. And we think we have a team that we can do that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the ball is going to be in the paint, 2 feet in the paint every time, but we feel like at the elbows, off the block a little bit, in the mid-post, we have guys that can not only score, but again, back to Derek and Grant, and if you put Admiral in there, these guys can also pass the ball. John Fulkerson, when he gets healthy. So I think there's an excitement about being able to play in 15 feet and in, where last year Hubbs gave us some. Grant was able to, as the season came, obviously, but we think we have 3 or 4 guys that can make plays 10 feet and in, 8 feet and in, so not necessarily right at the rim, but we think we can pound up on. And the other side of it is we want offensive rebounding. And with those guys and having multiple guys and we feel comfortable down there, we don't always just have to have the floor spaced. We think we can be cause problems for other teams on the offensive glass.
What about on the perimeter? How How important is it to have the two, those defined roles, or are you okay with different guys bringing the ball up the court, different guys kind of running things at different, because it seems like you have multiple versatile guys.
Yeah, I think ideally we would want to be that, Vince. We would want to be able to play very versatile on offense, where if any of the guards, and maybe even sometimes a forward or power forward rebounded the ball, that he could lead the break. And I think we're getting to that point. We're learning. We're still early in the season. We're learning who can handle that and who can't. But there's no doubt if you had a guy like Jordan Bowden out there, and Lamonte Turner and Chris Darrington, or Bird, and Jay Bird is James Daniel, and Jordan Bone, and throw another guard out there, any of them really should be able to handle the duties of the point guard spot in terms of transition. But versatility, and the biggest thing is depth. We feel like we have a versatile backcourt, but you need depth. And for the first time, I think, in Coach's 2 years here, and he would say this, we feel like we have depth in the backcourt where we can play different ways, we can play through some foul trouble, and we have some options to really maybe pick the pressure up on defense, because we know we can bring 2 or 3 other guys in as the game goes and not get worn down.
As you know, in team sports, the dynamic in the locker room is always big on how the team handles their situation. You can have a team with a lot more depth and a lot more competition. Not everyone handles that the best way. Is that something that you feel good about, how they're handling that competition? Is it a threat to some guys but a motivator for another? How do you feel about that aspect of this?
You just described sports at the highest level. So that's what it is, and I know you've been involved in it, and you've covered it, and you played it, and I've had a chance to play it and coach it, and in the end of the day, competition breeds success. That's what it is, and I think that's what all these players and teams around the country are striving for right now, and you want it to be as competitive as possible. You never want it to be where guys 10 through 13 are accepting of their role. Accepting roles as the season goes and what you have to do to help the team win, that's one piece. But accepting lack of competition, or accepting, hey, that's never going to be, I don't think that's acceptable in sports, not with winning teams. So I think there will be some fierce competition. I think there will be some guys that always want to play more, but that's how it should be. But in the end, that's how teams win, and that's how really great programs are built, and hopefully we have that here, and I think we do.
I know you're still just now getting into the actual practices, but from what you've seen and being able to work with these guys and your trip and everything, who would you say out of the returning players is maybe would have the title of most improved to this point?
Admiral had a great summer and had had some good moments over there in Europe, but again, it goes back to your last question. It's no secret, at least we feel like in our program, if you work, good things are going to happen. And Admiral right now, Admiral Schofield, would be a guy that has put an incredible amount of time, not only coming into the gym, but really getting better when he comes to the gym. And he's very hungry, and he works with a purpose, and he's serious about it. So when we go back to the question about competitiveness and some of the challenges that it may cause in terms of maybe, you have depth and not everybody can always play, and that's the reality. We feel like the answer to that is, well, you got to work your way. You got to work at it. You got to work at it. You got to be serious about it. You got to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, I got to be better. And Admiral Schofield is someone I think took first 2 years and said, hey, he wants to be better this year, and he's put himself in a good position because of how he's worked. And Kyle Alexander's worked really hard. He worked really hard last spring, this summer, and the early parts of this season. He's continuing to work. And you know what usually that stems from is when the teams get deeper and deeper, when there's more guys pushing you. But again, I think the really good teams across college basketball and any sports, that's what they have.
Why Admiral at the wing this year?
Well, he's really worked hard at it. It's something I know he wants to do. It's something he knows that at 6'5", he would love to be able to develop those wing skills, but he will still play inside because we know he's very effective there, and he knows he's effective there. But also, we've created some depth in the post, and it's allowed for that versatility. We talk about that lineup. There could be a lineup where Admiral is as the two guard. Not that he's a traditional two guard, but if you have a lineup where you had Grant at the 4 and maybe Eve at the 3 and AD at the 2, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the way he has worked. He's put himself in a position where we're very confident in his ability to shoot the basketball. We're confident that he's understanding the game better, and when he doesn't try and do too much, he really can be a good passer. I think all players, when they try and get out of the box and do too much, can put themselves in a bad position. It doesn't matter what position you are. But Admiral has done a really good job, and he's learned to defend on the perimeter. You can't play on the perimeter or the wing or the two or any spot if you can't guard your spot, and that's going to be something that's always a staple for Coach Barnes. You got to be able to defend your position, and he's worked really hard at being able to defend that position. But with Fulkerson coming back healthy, with Derek Walker being opportunity to be a presence inside, with the freshman and Zach Kent at 6'10 or 6'11, we have some depth inside, and so that gives Admiral opportunity to swing both ways and play a little bit on the perimeter, play a little bit inside. Even at the 4, our 4s will play inside and out, and even at the 3, if you liken the Robert Hubbs, we're going to put our 3s inside. So we want that ability to be big and play big, regardless of what number you have in front of you in terms of position.
Last thing, and I can keep you all day, but we'll let some other people jump in here. But from a basketball IQ standpoint, where is this team now, do you think, heading into practice?
I think the European trip really helped, the international tour, and being able to play 3 games over there. And it's such a great game in Europe. I tell you, the 2 games in Spain and the 1 game in France, and you see the way they play and how their players, like I said, there may have been a talent discrepancy in some of it, but you can really see they know how to play the game. Ball movement, they understand just some really fundamental concepts of the game. And I think for young college players who are learning that, as they get into college, I think it really helped us. And this is a great group that understands working. They understand, I think we have enough returners that understand what we want to do, what's our identity on offense, what's it on defense. So from that standpoint, it's always got to get better. It will always improve day to day, but you feel good where the foundation is in terms of basketball IQ, to answer your question, and the feel for what we're trying to accomplish on both sides of the ball.
I lied. Let me sneak in one more, because you have a unique perspective. Obviously, with that FBI probe on college basketball, a lot of people are talking about the sport. From your vantage point, being an assistant coach in a big-time program, where do you stand on the news and what we've seen in this profession right now and where it goes from here?
Yeah, Vince, just an unfortunate time for the sport. And I think really the biggest kind of drawback is that all players, coaches, probably a lot like yourself, got into athletics or whatever sport because you love the sport. And I know there's a great passion for basketball in this room and with the coaches and the players. And unfortunately, that's been tainted a little bit, the sport of basketball. And I think it'll recover. It's just a difficult time right now. But that's what you want. You want to see the great game of basketball be strong and not have any, not have any mud on it.
Coach, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.